The galaxy was quiet in a way no one had ever heard before. Stars still burned, planets still moved, and giant stations still floated in deep space. But something felt wrong. The Galactic Empire, which once controlled thousands of star systems, had fallen into sudden, terrible silence. Entire sectors had stopped sending messages. Fleets went dark on long-range scanners. It was as if billions of lives had been cut away from the universe in a single moment. Humanity watched from far beyond the Empire's borders. Earth and the nearby colonies had never been close allies of the Empire. They had always kept a distance, careful not to provoke anyone stronger than themselves. But now the Empire was no longer strong, and its silence carried a strange fear across the stars. Captain Laura Hill stood inside the command center of Earth's Strategic Observation Station. The room was quiet, except for soft beeps from scanning panels and the hum of the cooling systems. Her eyes were fixed on a wide screen where the star map slowly rotated, showing whole regions of space that were marked in red. Red meant no communication. Red meant lost. Red meant billions gone. She did not speak for a long time. She only watched the map, taking slow breaths. She was not afraid, but she felt a heavy worry building in her chest. Something big had happened, something that would change the future of every living species. Ethan Brooks entered the room and walked over to her side. He was a strategist for Earth's Defense Council and one of the few people who studied the Empire closely. He looked older than his age because he never slept long. His work never let him rest. He studied the screen with Laura and asked in a low voice, almost like he did not want to disturb the silence, if there was any new report. Laura said no. Everything was the same. Entire star systems had gone dark without warning. Even civilian ships traveling nearby had vanished after sending emergency signals. There were no survivors to question, and no videos or recordings had reached them. Only silence. Ethan rubbed his forehead, thinking about every possibility he could imagine. He said the Empire was too large and too organized to fall apart by accident. Something must have caused this. Something powerful enough to destroy worlds or break entire networks in one strike. But nothing in the known galaxy had such power. Rumors were spreading fast across unconnected channels. Some said an unknown enemy had invaded. Others said a new disease had appeared. Some wild voices even said the Empire had destroyed itself by accident. Ethan knew rumors meant fear, and when entire civilizations became afraid, they looked for someone to blame. Humanity had always been an easy target for blame. The Empire never fully accepted humans as equals. Humans were smaller in number and newer to the galactic community. Many alien leaders feared how quickly humans learned, built, explored, and adapted. They said humans were unpredictable, dangerous, maybe even unstable. Laura looked away from the screen and said the galaxy would soon believe humanity was responsible, even if they had nothing to do with it. Ethan nodded. He had known the same thing for days. Soon, alien fleets might come toward Earth, not for war, but out of fear, out of desperation. And fear could be more dangerous than any weapon. But there was something even stranger. Humanity had not moved a single ship. Earth had not activated any defense protocols. No fleets had been deployed. No armies had been prepared. Humans simply watched the galaxy collapse. It confused every alien who monitored them. Why would humans stay silent at a time like this? Laura knew why. Humanity understood better than anyone what panic could do. They had seen the Empire threaten them before. They had seen how fear twisted into violence. If humans reacted too quickly, the galaxy would think they were ready for war. But if humans stayed calm, others might hesitate before making bad choices. It was a careful balance, and difficult to maintain. A soft alert beeped, breaking the still air. A message appeared on the screen. It was a public broadcast from the surviving members of the Galactic Senate. Laura opened the message, and both she and Ethan read it carefully. The Senate declared that humanity was under investigation. They said the Empire's collapse might have been caused by an outside force, and they suggested, without any proof, that humans had the motive and the technology to cause such destruction. It was not an official accusation, but everyone understood the meaning behind it. Ethan sighed softly. He knew this was only the beginning. Once fear started, it would spread. Soon, small governments would join the suspicion. Then military factions. Then war. Laura closed the message and leaned back against a control table. She said they had to prepare for what came next. They could not sit still forever. Humanity had to be ready to defend itself. Ethan agreed, but he reminded her that if they moved too early, the galaxy might take it as a sign of guilt. The question was simple, but heavy. When should humanity act? Before Laura could answer, the station received a coded transmission from an unmanned probe near the outer borders of the Empire. The probe had recorded weak energy spikes coming from a ruined world. The spikes matched the signature of a massive weapon, but not one human engineers recognized. It looked like the energy had been created by someone inside the Empire. Ethan stared at the data. He felt a cold realization travel down his spine. He had theorized something similar days ago, but seeing the evidence made the truth feel heavier. He explained that a scientist inside the Empire had once created dangerous experimental devices. These devices were meant to help control rebellion by shutting down planetary systems. But the scientist had been disgraced and exiled after an early test went wrong. Ethan believed that same scientist had returned, either in secret or through hidden supporters inside the Empire. If the scientist had activated a full-scale device, that could explain everything. Laura listened carefully. She asked why the Empire had tried so hard to hide this scientist in the past. Ethan replied that the Empire hated admitting its own mistakes, especially mistakes that could make them look weak. Laura frowned. She knew what this meant. If the galaxy learned, the Empire destroyed itself. Many alien governments would be furious, and instead of blaming the fallen Empire, they would blame the next easiest target: humanity. Because humans were rising. Because their technology grew fast. Because their culture spread quickly. Because the galaxy always feared what it did not understand. Ethan said they needed more evidence before they could present anything. They had to be careful. If they made a claim too soon, it could be twisted against them. Outside the observation station, a deep blue planet rotated slowly, covered in bright city lights. Earth looked peaceful. People went to school, went to work, spent time with family, and lived as if nothing strange was happening far beyond the sky. They did not know a storm was coming. Laura watched the planet for a moment, thinking about the billions of humans living their daily lives. She wanted to protect them, no matter what. She had joined the human fleet to keep Earth safe, not to fight wars across the galaxy. But she knew they might not have a choice. The next day, alien news channels across the galaxy began broadcasting wild theories about humans. Some said a human weapon caused the destruction. Some said humans wanted revenge for old conflicts. Some claimed humans had discovered secret energy sources that allowed them to destroy worlds. None of the stories were true. But they spread quickly, because fear traveled faster than truth. Despite the noise, humanity stayed silent. No fleets moved, no threats were made, no messages were sent. This silence made everything more confusing. A few days later, another report arrived. A small alien scouting group had traveled near the Empire's inner systems and detected the same strange energy signature that the human probe had found. The scouts transmitted the data and tried to return, but they vanished without a trace on the way back. Laura and Ethan studied the new information. It matched perfectly. The scientist inside the Empire had used a device far more powerful than anyone expected. It was not a weapon meant for war. It was a weapon meant for control. But when activated at full scale, it became a disaster. Ethan said something important. The Empire did not fall because of an enemy. It fell because it lost control of its own creation. Laura understood the weight of his words. If the galaxy accepted this truth, humanity would be safe. But if the galaxy refused to believe it, humanity would be blamed anyway. She turned toward the observation windows, watching the distant stars. She wondered how many worlds were suffering at this moment, how many families were lost, and how many more might fall into chaos before the truth came out. Humanity had always been seen as small, as a side species, as unpredictable. But now the galaxy was watching them, waiting to see how they would respond. Laura hoped humanity could stay peaceful. She hoped the galaxy would listen to reason. She hoped fear would calm down before it turned into war. But she also knew something deep inside herself. If the galaxy attacked humanity, if alien fleets came with fear and anger, then humans would have no choice but to defend themselves. And when humanity defended itself, nothing in the galaxy would be able to stand against them. That was the truth the galaxy feared most. That was the truth humanity tried to hide. That was the truth Laura felt closing in like a shadow as the silent empire continued to burn in the background of the stars. The galaxy changed quickly after the fall of the empire. Every day brought new fear, new confusion, and new voices shouting across the stars. The collapse had left thousands of worlds without leadership, and many of them turned against each other as they searched for someone to blame. Trade routes shut down, communication networks broke apart, and entire regions fell into chaos. There were planets begging for food, colonies begging for fuel, and governments begging for answers that no one had. Humanity watched quietly from their own space. Earth knew they were becoming the center of attention. Even if they had done nothing, aliens expected humans to attack, to chase power, to take advantage of the disaster, like any other rising species might. But humans did not move. They waited. They observed. Their silence was calm, but the galaxy saw it as dangerous. Commander Olivia Grant stood inside the diplomatic command center on Earth. She was known for her calm voice and patient mind. Her job was not to fight battles, but to speak with other species and avoid war whenever possible. She believed in cooperation and understanding, but she also knew those things were hard to achieve in times like these. She watched a long list of messages on her screen. Many came from small alien governments, asking if Earth knew what had happened to the Empire. Some messages were hopeful and friendly, others were angry and filled with fear. A few were rude and even threatening. Olivia answered each message with polite words, saying Earth was still investigating and did not have clear information. But she could feel the pressure growing. Then came a new message that made her heart feel heavy. It was from a group of high-ranking alien leaders who had formed a new coalition. They called themselves the High Regency. They claimed to be the new voice of the broken empire, even though no one had elected them. In their message, they suggested that humans were the only species capable of causing the empire's collapse. They offered no proof, but they used strong language, saying humanity must explain itself or face consequences. Olivia read the message twice. She understood what it meant. The High Regency wanted a target for their anger, and humanity was the easiest target available. Their message was not really a question. It was a warning. A few hours later, Olivia traveled to the main council building, where Earth's leaders gathered. She entered a large room where several important commanders and analysts had already arrived. Laura Hill and Ethan Brooks were there too, standing near a round table, where a hologram of the galaxy displayed glowing blue and red regions. Olivia explained the message from the High Regency. Laura listened carefully, her arms crossed, her face serious. Ethan studied the map slowly, tapping a finger against the edge of the table as he thought about the possible outcomes. Ethan said the High Regency did not care about truth. They needed someone to blame so they could gather support and rebuild their power. Humanity was the perfect target, because it was rising quickly. If the galaxy believed the High Regency, Earth could face attacks from multiple sides. Laura asked Olivia what she thought should be done. Olivia said they should send a diplomatic mission to speak with the coalition directly. She believed that if they could show real evidence, maybe they could calm the fears before they turned into war. The council agreed, though not everyone believed diplomacy would work. Still, they knew they had to try. 2 days later, Olivia left Earth on a small diplomatic ship with a team of specialists. Their ship was unarmed, fast, and designed to avoid conflict. They traveled through quiet channels toward the border of the fallen empire, where the High Regency had set up a temporary station. The station was a large metal structure built from broken imperial parts. It floated in a dark region of space with only a few ships nearby. Olivia's ship landed in a docking bay that looked poorly repaired. Broken panels and exposed wiring showed how desperate the coalition was. Olivia stepped out with slow, careful movements. Several alien guards watched her, but they did not attack. They led her down a narrow hallway into a room where the representatives of the High Regency waited. They were different species, but all wore dark robes that made them look united. Olivia bowed politely and spoke with a calm voice. She said humanity was willing to help, willing to share information, and willing to work together to find the truth. She explained that Earth had evidence showing a rogue Imperial scientist caused the disaster. The High Regency members listened, but their expressions stayed hard and cold. Their leader said Earth was lying. He said humans had hidden technology capable of destroying planets. He said they had always been dangerous. He said their silence was proof of guilt. Olivia denied the accusations with steady words, but she could tell they had already decided the answer before she arrived. They did not want truth. They wanted control. After hours of discussion, the meeting ended with no agreement. Olivia knew the mission had failed the moment she saw their eyes. She returned to her ship with a heavy heart. As her ship left the station, she looked through the window at the broken metal structure behind them. She whispered to herself that she hoped the galaxy would not follow these leaders, but she had seen enough to know hope might not be enough. A few days after Olivia returned home, alien fleets began to move. They sent small groups of ships toward human space, testing defenses, scanning borders, and watching human reactions. They expected to see human war fleets waiting to attack. They expected angry messages or military warnings. But humanity remained silent again. For every alien fleet that entered their borders, human unmanned drones appeared. These drones did not fire. They did not destroy. They simply disabled enemy ships gently with precise energy pulses that shut down engines without causing harm. The aliens were shocked. They had never seen technology so careful and controlled. Human defenses did not act like weapons meant for battle. They acted like tools made to prevent danger without taking lives. Whispers spread across the galaxy. Some said humans were far more advanced than they had shown. Others said humans were hiding their strength, waiting for the right time to strike. Many were confused. If humans had such power, why were they not using it to take territory or force others to obey them? Ethan Brooks studied every alien movement. He presented new evidence to Earth's Council, showing that more parts of the Empire had collapsed from the same strange energy signature found earlier. He believed the rogue scientist had created a chain reaction that spread far beyond its original target. Ethan said this information needed to be revealed to the galaxy soon. If they waited too long, the High Regency might twist the truth forever. But the question remained: would the galaxy believe them? Laura Hill spent long nights in the command center, unable to sleep. She watched the star map as alien fleets moved closer and closer to human borders. Some ships came with aggression. Others came with fear. A few came with curiosity. All of them watched humanity with suspicion. Laura knew humanity could defend itself. She knew the Dawn Protocol, which Earth had quietly prepared for years, could ensure their survival against almost any force. But the Dawn Protocol was powerful enough to frighten the entire galaxy if revealed too soon. Every night, she asked herself the same question. Were they protecting the galaxy from misunderstanding, or were they delaying something that could no longer be avoided? Late one evening, a small human probe sent back a message. It had found another ruined world deep inside the fallen empire. The world was empty, destroyed by the same unstable energy. It was proof the empire had done this to itself. Ethan brought the report to Laura and said they finally had enough evidence to prove humanity was innocent. They could reveal everything to the galaxy now. But Laura shook her head. She said evidence did not matter to those who did not want truth. The High Regency would reject it. Many frightened governments would too, but they could not remain silent forever. Sooner or later, they would need to speak. And sooner or later, the galaxy would force them to act. Meanwhile, the galaxy continued to search for stability. Some planets broke away from the High Regency. Others begged for help. A few even reached out to Earth, quietly asking for assistance with food, medicine, or communication repairs. Humanity sent aid quietly, without drawing attention. They helped where they could, always careful not to appear threatening. But even small kindness could not stop the wave of fear spreading across the stars. Weeks passed. Tension grew. The High Regency called for a meeting of several alien governments. In that meeting, they claimed humans were preparing for war and would soon conquer the weakened empire. They provided no evidence, but their words were strong enough to sway frightened leaders. When news reached Earth, Laura felt the weight of the coming storm settle heavily on her shoulders. The galaxy was choosing a story, and humanity was not the hero in it. Laura looked at the hologram of the galaxy again, watching the red regions of silence, the blue regions of unrest, and the growing orange regions where fleets were gathering. She knew what was coming. Ethan knew. Olivia knew. Everyone in command knew. Humanity did not want war, but war was coming to them, and the galaxy had no idea what humanity was truly capable of. The day the galaxy had feared finally arrived. It was quiet at first. No alarms, no loud signals, and no warnings. Only a slow movement in the darkness of space. A movement made by thousands of alien ships from many different species. They formed a single giant force, led by the High Regency. Their message was clear. They wanted humanity to surrender or be crushed before the Dawn Protocol could be completed. Inside Earth's main defense center, Laura Hill watched the enemy fleet appear on the long-range display. She studied the glowing dots one by one, each representing a ship filled with soldiers who believed humans were the greatest threat in the galaxy. She did not feel anger. She felt sadness. She had tried to avoid this moment for so long, but the galaxy had chosen fear instead of truth. Ethan Brooks stood beside her, calm but serious. He had spent months gathering evidence of the Empire's self-destruction. He had proven the rogue scientist caused the disaster. But evidence had not saved them. Fear had been stronger than truth, and now a massive force was heading for Earth. Olivia Grant arrived moments later, out of breath after running from the diplomatic wing. She had received a message from the High Regency. It said humanity had one chance to surrender peacefully. If they refused, the coalition fleet would attack with full power. Olivia read the message aloud. Laura listened without moving. Ethan listened without blinking. When Olivia finished reading, the room went silent. Laura finally spoke. She said there was no point in replying. The High Regency did not want peace. They wanted control, and the galaxy had followed them because it was easier to believe a lie than to face the truth. Earth's council members gathered, each carrying a heavy sense of responsibility. They spoke quietly with Laura, Ethan, and Olivia about what must be done. They knew they could not surrender. They also knew they could not stop the coalition with diplomacy. The enemy had already chosen their path. Laura looked at the hologram of the attacking fleet. It grew larger with every passing minute. She took a deep breath and activated the Dawn Protocol. In that moment, something changed across all human space. Silent stations woke up. Hidden defenses activated. Sleeper fleets powered online. It was not chaos. It was not a rush. It was calm, controlled, and precise. The sky above Earth shimmered as powerful shields unfolded like layers of light. But the Dawn Protocol was not just a shield system. It was a strategy created over decades, designed to protect humanity without destroying entire civilizations. It focused on control, precision, and protection. When the alien fleet arrived at the border of human space, they expected human ships to run in fear or scatter. Instead, they saw a quiet line of human vessels waiting. These ships were sleek, silver, and shaped with smooth curves instead of sharp edges. They looked peaceful, almost harmless. But their engines glowed with a strange light that no alien species had seen before. The coalition commanders laughed when they first saw the human fleet. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans did not understand war. They thought the Dawn Protocol was only a rumor. Then the first battle began. The coalition fired large volleys of energy toward the human ships. The attacks were strong enough to destroy normal fleets instantly. But the human ships moved with impossible speed. They shifted positions like they were gliding through water, avoiding every shot smoothly. No human ship fired back. They only avoided and observed. The alien commanders grew angry. They ordered another wave of attacks. This time, the human ships activated their defensive fields. The energy blasts touched the fields and vanished. There was no explosion, no force. It was as if the attacks were swallowed by the air. Laura watched the enemy attacks vanish on her screen. She felt no joy. She felt no pride. She only felt the heavy weight of responsibility. She understood that every choice she made could change the future of every species in the galaxy. Then she gave the order to move. Human ships advanced in a slow and graceful formation. They did not fire heavy weapons. Instead, they released small blue pulses of light that flew gently toward the alien ships. At first, the coalition thought these pulses were weak, but when the pulses touched their ships, engines shut down, weapons powered off, and shields vanished. The ships were disabled without any damage. One by one, coalition ships lost control. They were not destroyed. They were not harmed. They were simply made harmless. The alien soldiers inside panicked, believing some new human superweapon had been unleashed on them. They had never seen a force that could disable entire fleets without hurting anyone. The battle ended faster than anyone expected. More than half the coalition fleet was disabled. The rest retreated in shock. Unable to believe what they had witnessed, Laura gave orders to rescue the soldiers on damaged ships, offering them medical care and food. She said they were not enemies now that the battle was over. They were frightened beings who needed help. This confused the entire galaxy. Meanwhile, Olivia Grant met with captured commanders. She showed them the full evidence of the Empire's collapse. She explained that the rogue scientist had caused everything. Many commanders listened in disbelief. They had attacked innocent humans because of lies. Some commanders lowered their heads in shame. Others argued in confusion, unable to accept the truth. But the evidence was too strong to ignore. Slowly, their anger softened into fear and regret. When the news spread that Earth had disabled a massive fleet but harmed no one, many alien governments paused. Some began to think differently. They saw humanity not as a threat, but as a species that wanted balance, not power. Human engineers traveled to damaged worlds to help rebuild communication networks. Human doctors flew to sick colonies to offer medicine. Human builders helped restore food systems and damaged habitats. Every day, more alien worlds realized humanity was not their enemy. Ethan Brooks stood before the Human Council weeks later and said something important. He said this moment was not a victory of power. It was a victory of restraint. Humanity had shown a strength the galaxy did not understand. A strength that came not from weapons, but from compassion and control. Laura Hill spent many hours visiting repaired ships, talking to rescued alien officers, and explaining why humanity had held back even when threatened. She wanted them to understand that humans did not want to be rulers of the galaxy. They wanted peace, safety, and cooperation. They wanted a future where fear did not lead to war. One quiet evening, Laura stood on a wide balcony in the command center, looking at the stars. Many of those stars were worlds that once feared humanity. Now, many of them were asking for guidance, help, and friendship. She felt the quiet power of responsibility settle inside her. She knew the galaxy would never be the same again. The Empire had fallen. The High Regency had failed. The old systems of power had shattered, and in that space, humanity had stepped forward not with destruction, but with calm strength. Olivia Grant joined Laura on the balcony. She said the representatives from several worlds wanted to meet tomorrow. They wanted to discuss forming a new council, one based on balance and protection instead of fear and control. They wanted humans to help build it. Laura listened carefully. She felt a soft warmth in her chest. Not pride, but hope. Hope that the galaxy could grow into something better. Ethan walked out to join them. He said the final report on the Empire's collapse was ready. It would be shared with the entire galaxy. It would tell the truth clearly and simply. It would end the lies that started the war. Laura asked if the galaxy would believe it. Ethan smiled softly and said that this time, they would. Because they had seen the truth with their own eyes. They had seen what humans could do, and what humans chose not to do. Laura looked at the stars again, thinking about everything that had happened. The galaxy had once feared humanity more than anything. But now the galaxy understood something new. Humanity was not dangerous because of their power. Humanity was powerful because they used strength with wisdom. And when they finally moved, nothing could stand against them. But they never moved to destroy. They moved to protect. They moved to rebuild. They moved to guide a galaxy that had lost its way. And now, every species would remember the moment humanity stepped forward with calm strength, not for victory, but for the future.